Hey thinkers, let us proceed to our fourth tutorial in which I will be introducing the Visual Basic coding to you all. In this tutorial, we will learn about the data types, the variables, the operators, and the useful events. We will also create a sample program to understand all that, and that program is nothing but a calculator. We will start with a standard exe project, and we will drag 4 command buttons on the form. After giving it a little bit of creativity and your time, you can make the form look like the one in front of you, or even better. Obviously, I used 4 command buttons, 2 text boxes, 1 label, 2 junk labels, and a line control in our form. In this tutorial, you will be learning 2 different methods of input as well as of output. Because we are done with the user interface of the program, now let us move to the code window. The Visual Basic language does not really demand the declaration of the variables, but it's better if we do because it makes our program more efficient and occupy lesser memory. The format of declaring variables in Visual Basic is dim space the variable name space as space the data type. Now, Visual Basic offers several data types. Some of the most common are string, integer, double, boolean, byte, single, and variant. So if you want to declare a variable, we can declare it as dim num1 as integer and dim num2 as integer, dim result as string. The string data type tells Visual Basic that the variable containing the value will be of type string. String is collection of characters. The data type integer tells Visual Basic that the value that is going to enter num2 is an integer. Similar applies for num1. If we declare a variable dim result2 as double, this thing means that the value of result2 will be of double data type. Double is used to store large number with higher number of digits followed by the decimal. You can learn about all the data types through the link given in the description of this tutorial. In our program, we will be using these 4 variables of integer, string, and double data types respectively. We will start with the method 1 and double click the Add Two Numbers button in the designing stage of the program. As soon as you double click that button in the designing window, you are redirected to the code window to write the code. Some part of the code is pre-written and this part is called the event procedure for that object. On the top of the code window, you will find 2 drop-down list boxes. The left one contains the objects that are eligible for writing code, like the command button cmd subtract, while in the right there is a drop-down list box containing the list of events, like the mouse down event of the cmd subtract button or the got focus event of the cmd subtract button. So we are going to start with the cmd add button. Because I told you, I'll be telling you 2 methods of getting the input from the user. The first method that we will use is called the input box method. We'll write num1 is equal to will assign the value to the num1 variable. Then we will write input box. Input box is an inbuilt function in Visual Basic that opens a dialog box containing a text box and asks for the input from the user. Then we'll write a bracket, a parenthesis symbol. You can see that the syntax of the input box is shown as a tooltip in the code window. The bold area of the tooltip represents the current area you are working in, like the prompt. The prompt of an input box is a string, and in Visual Basic we write strings in double quotes. And we'll write enter the first number. Then we'll write a comma as it is written in the syntax. Then it is asking for the title, but it is given in the big brackets or the square brackets. Anything given in the square brackets means that it is optional and you can omit this. So we'll just omit this for a while and press enter. Now let us see what will happen in the running stage of the program. If we click on add two numbers, we'll see an input box that will ask for a number. Now it will just disappear because we haven't written any other code on it. Now the problem is that the input box function returns a string and the num1 is an integer, means we need to convert the string into an integer. For that purpose we have the function called val, that means value of. If we write this function and close it in the parenthesis, then it means that num1 is equal to value of input box enter the first number. Means the program will get a text or a string from the user and then it will convert it into an integer and will store that value in num1. Similarly, we'll write num2 is equal to value of the second number. Now because we have got two values, we need to add them, and for that we'll write result2 is equal to. So result2 will save num1 plus num2. As you can see that Visual Basic is easy to understand and you can visualize the things that are happening. Result2 is being assigned the value of num1 plus num2, and then we'll write result is equal to, because result is a string and result2 is a double data type, now we need to revert back from double to string, and for that purpose we have the function str that stands for string of number, means we'll write string of result2. This will store the string value of the number of result2. Now we want to display this result to the user. That means we need to give the output of our program, and for that function we'll use the message box. The message box function of the Visual Basic is exactly opposite of input box. Where input box receives an input, the message box is used to deliver the output. Now we'll write message box bracket. It will ask for the prompt and our prompt will be result. Now you see we don't need to enclose this result in double quotes because it's already a string data type and we do not need to tell Visual Basic that it is a string. If we write in double quotes, it will just write result as the output, as we can see. Result. So it's kind of funny thing and we need to rectify that error. And then we'll remove the double quotes and we'll see the actual result. $158. We got it. Now because this code is working, we can copy this whole code and paste it. Then replace add by multiply and the plus symbol by an asterisk or the star symbol on the keyboard. And then we can check if it works. Multiply two numbers and we'll write 30 into 4. That gives 120. Alright. Now we will be proceeding to the method 2. As I told you, the method 2 will involve different processes for input as well as for output. For input, this time we will use two text boxes instead of the input box function. I have named these text boxes as txtnum1 and txtnum2. Now we are going to understand how to access property of an object. In Visual Basic code window, if you write something followed by an apostrophe, Visual Basic accepts that as a comment and does not compile that. Now I'm going to teach you how to access the property of an object. Suppose that person have a pen. Then we can say person's pen. Alright. We can also write this as pen of person. In Visual Basic we have to write it as person dot pen. That means it is the pen of person, or this pen belongs to person. Similarly, in Visual Basic we access the properties of an object. We'll select cmd subtract from here, and now we will write the code. This time we will be writing num1 is equal to. This time num1 will be the value of the text box. Okay, so we'll be writing that value of, because the text box also contains the string, so we have to apply the function value of txtnum1 dot. As soon as you write the dot after the object's name, there appear a drop down list box. It contains all the properties or the functions of that object. Now we are concerned with the text property of the txtnum1. So we will begin writing te, and we will see that the text is already present in that. So enclose the bracket, and here we see num1 is equal to value of txtnum1 dot text. Similarly, num2 is equal to the value of txtnum2 dot text. We'll write result2 is equal to num1 minus num2, and we'll write result is equal to string of result2. This time we will not pour the output through a message box. We will display it in a label. For that we'll write lvl result. That's the name that I gave to that label at the bottom, dot. Now we are concerned with the caption property of that label. So we'll write C, and we'll see that the caption is already present there. And then we'll write is equal to, because equal to is an assignment operator. And then we'll write result. Now we'll sample run the program and check for bugs. And here we see the result, 22. Because this code is also working, so we'll copy it again and replace subtract by divide, and the subtraction symbol by a division symbol, and see if it works. 100 divided by 5 is 20. These were the two different methods of input and output. Obviously, we can imagine that there must be an error if you divide the number by 0. And you'll get an error, the division by 0 runtime error. And we will be debugging it in the next tutorial because it requires the knowledge of the iteration statements and the conditional statements.